bunch of family offices that I know in New York, and they're all friends of mine, but they're not talking to each other. And I just think that we need to fix that. And so I'm very excited about this is going as a bigger group. I was just talking to one of my friends who said, "This is just so great," and that's delightful. We just had, and I want to thank our partner, Life Science Nations. We just had two really, I think, outstanding panels. We had one at 10 a.m. We talked about the big elephant in the room. What do you do in the 0 to 3 space? You know, I think it went very well. We also had a panel that we just finished on family offices and angels working together, and it was standing room only. So that's kind of amazing that we had all of that. So I'd like to welcome both my old friends and new friends. And I'd like to sort of step back and talk about the philosophy that sort of brought us to pulling together this group. And I'd like to comment that we're actually now in, we brought 250 family offices together in 17 cities, in six countries, in 3 continents. So last week we had a busy week because we did St. Louis on Tuesday, Nashville on Wednesday, and Austin on Thursday. And on Thursday we also had the team in Australia, because we have an office in Australia, did Brisbane, so we had 4 family office gatherings there. And there's kind of a pattern that's emerging. It's a very positive pattern, and I'd like to really talk about some of the things that people are finding as they come together. There's power in the family offices coming together around healthcare and life sciences, and really sharing insights and skills. And let me just use really more of a generic analysis. I was on the phone with a group. The family had made money in real estate, great. And how do you make money in real estate? Well, as you get bigger, you have a couple of families that you can just share the deals with and all of that. Well, in this case, the father was on the local hospital board for 30 years. He was chairman of the board 3 years, for 3 of those, at 3 different times. And a life science deal or healthcare deal comes in, they have no idea what to do. What I hope we can do is that we can sort of bring people together, that we can know each other. We have a couple of the angel groups here, one there, one here, where we want to start working more closely so that we can resource some of the families so that they can start to understand where investment can be made. And just as you had a small group that comes around in the real estate world, I think that's what we really have to do in the life science. And the other thing that is really quite interesting that keeps on coming up in the family office world is the next generation. And we had in Singapore, which is one of our big family office groups, we had back in March, one of the professors is a friend of mine at the Singapore Management University. She brought some of her students that have now graduated and are out in the family office world. She's on the board of some of the family office groups. And it was really cool. 5th and 6th generation Singaporeans and all that. So I asked the question at the table, so a little bit like this: what do you care about? All right, there were 2 other things that they cared about, but the third one I thought was fascinating: Alzheimer's. And why would they care about it? 2 reasons. One is that they know they're probably going to have to take care of a parent or a loved one. They know that then they know nothing about it because no one's ever told them anything about it. And there's some amazing things, particularly in the area of people that are 50s, 60s, and 70s, where you can actually rejuvenate people that, and we're going to have some stuff up on our global betterhealth.com website here in the next couple of days on that, which I think will be really important. But the other thing that they're very interested in is how do you avoid it? Well, I go to the Cooper Clinic, and Ken Cooper has been my personal doctor for 22 years. 50 years ago this year, he invented the word aerobics. Everyone knows the word aerobics. They don't know Ken Cooper. And I see my friend that is tied in with Brazil, and if you ask someone from Brazil, what's the word for jogging? Well, Ken was down there in 1970, and he trained the, we call it soccer, they call it football. He trained their football team, and they won the World Cup. And he became sort of a celebrity, and they couldn't figure out a word for jogging. So the word for jogging in Brazil is Faz Cooper. And I always like to talk to my Brazilian friends, and they said, well, he's my doctor. Get out of here. That can't be. But the interesting thing is that there are 20,000 of us that have been going there for 20 years. Our healthcare costs today are 40% less documented. Our incidence of Alzheimer's is 38% less. And even as I go to conferences, they don't really know what's going on. I was at an Alzheimer's conference in Lausanne. It was the 5th year with 100 key opinion leaders of the world. And after the first panel, my hand goes up. I didn't get the mic the first time. Okay, I got the second question. I said, we're at an Alzheimer's conference. This is the 5th year we're doing it here. I'm new, but I don't understand it. If it's documented that 1/3 to 1/2 of all Alzheimer's is either can be reduced or avoided, why aren't we talking about it here? The panelists refuse to talk about it. This is 100 key world opinion leaders. And what it comes back to me is the power is really in the family office space. We've got a lot of people that I think, as I talk to them, want to do something. They don't know people in the room. When I usually do this in places like, I've done it in Brisbane and I've done it in other cities, I said, well, okay, and I want to make sure everyone introduces themselves. But when I do that, I say, okay, outside of me, who has met someone new? So in Brisbane, we had the chief scientist of Queensland, which is the state of where Brisbane is. We had 2 ex-premiers that would be the equivalent of having, in this case, the governor of New York, ex-governors of New York. I mean, we had some pretty high-powered people, and they really cared. They were really interested in life science. Every single hand in the room went up. There were 18 of us there, and everyone had met someone new in the room. How can that possibly be? That we've got to start bringing people together, both in terms of community leaders and in terms of family offices. They love to get together, and so I think that there's a real power in all of that. And I think the work on prevention. I work at the highest levels with the government of Finland, with the Ministry of Health in Singapore, and the Minister of Innovation who handles the healthcare portfolio in Queensland. I'm working with the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund. And they're all basically saying, look, we gotta solve this thing. Prevention is really the only way that this thing can be solved. And so we have a strategy. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But we have some pretty interesting people. And NIH wants to work with us. We're being introduced to the National Health Service, NHS, in England. And we've been invited to, in July, by the Permanent Secretary of Health in Finland to a meeting of the Ministers of Health in all of the EU. That's the level we're starting to work at. And I think we can have a major impact, but we have to bring the families together. The 250 families in our ecosystem, I think, is pretty exciting. I worked on the buyout area with the Association for Corporate Growth, and they put me in charge of their Global Family Office Council. We built it up from 5 families to 50 families in 3 years. I think we can have something of a similar nature. I'm not guaranteeing 50. But, you know, this thing is going to build. There's a lot of goodwill, and there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. And so, in summary, I think that these types of meetings are a safe place for families to meet. We have a number of guests here. We have the Bio New Jersey. We have CEO, the Bio New York CEO, and they'll come around. But we also have a couple of angel groups, and I like to start to socialize a little bit and learn about what each other cares about, and see where there might be some areas of collaboration. I love the word action and I love the word collaboration. If there's no action and no collaboration, I'm out of it. Because I'd like to see things really come together. And I think that we can really we have a chance to bring things together. So, what's the model here? And I'll just sort of wrap it up in this. The model is the Angel Capital Association. I knew the first angel, Hans Severance, because I lived in San Francisco. He said, I'm going out and forming the Band of Angels, which I think was the first angel group. There are now 13,000 angels, 260 organizations, and they meet once a year. They call it the Summit, and they have, it's in April, and we're going out tomorrow we've been invited to their planning group, and we're working on a collaboration. The NIH supports the Angel Capital Association, and the NIH wants to support us and bring the family offices to bear on what's going on. And we're going to have our annual meeting, our annual gathering will be at the same time as the Angel Capital Association. Is kind of good because they have the infrastructure where they can deal with the hotels and all that stuff, and that's what we're going to be working out in the next couple of days. But I think that'll be a really good opportunity. And so what I'd like to do as we're eating is I'd like to go around the room, and maybe we could start, Richard, with you, and we'll circle around and come back here. But could you introduce yourself and tell us, why are you interested in healthcare life science?
Well, the first part is it's the only thing I've ever learned anything about. I'm Richard Stetson. I run the Gorlin family office, and as Chuck knows, it's the only thing that we do. We're purely in healthcare. Steve Gorlin is 81 years old, has done 40 plus deals. I've been fortunate enough to have been dragged into work with him in this area, including in the last 10 years, he's had 8 unicorns. So he has a pretty good track record. I have nothing to do with that. I just kind of take credit for it. In any case, I've been in healthcare all my life. As far as Alzheimer's, I definitely believe in what Chuck says. I think that Alzheimer's is a problem that is underestimated and just beginning to get a lot more attention than it deserves. And I think there are a couple of ways of approaching it. From the pure social services, from the medical services, from the prescription drug services, but there are a lot of products also that are natural products that are nutraceutical type products that have remarkable activity there. And I think there are steps that people need to learn more about. And education precedes usage. So we're very happy to be involved with Chuck in helping learn more about the opportunities, get people to understand more about the needs out there, and bring products to the market that actually solve the problems or help at least take the steps in the directions of doing it. So we're committed to that very much, sir.
Okay. Can we go to Yaniv?
Thank you. So my name is Yaniv Snor. I'm one of the founders of the Mid-Atlantic BioAngels. We're a life science angel investor group, and we invest all over the world. I'm not sure what the right way to sit is. Sorry. I always have my back to somebody. We invest in therapeutics, devices, and diagnostics. I happen to be a CEO of a small startups in the neurodegeneration space. So we can talk about that a little bit later on, and a prophylactic approach to some of the diseases.
Wonderful. I'm Toby Petrucelli, a partner at Lex Partners. We are a investment platform and incubator of early stage growth companies, some of which are in the life sciences, although we are industry agnostic. One of the particular deals we did manage to close and transact this year and take ownership of as well with our own personal family office is AZ Therapies, which is a neurodegenerative disease prevention, kind of arresting the symptoms of Alzheimer's early onset, and headed by David Emile. And we brought in several family offices, including Daniel Lubin and Jillian Sandler, into that opportunity. So thank you. It's a pleasure being here. Thank you again, Chuck.
Thank you.
Chuck. Hello, everybody. I'm Bruce Roberts, and I'm a partner of RM Global, which is a life science focused banking and asset management firm based here in town. We also have an office in Herzliya, Israel. And a lot of the work we've done on the investment side has been putting money to work in the sector for corporate clients although we recently raised a fund which we manage as GPs in collaboration with J&J, Takeda, and OrbiMed, investing in innovative bioventures in Israel. And after doing this for about 25 years, my family, which was in the skincare business, having sold our business to a pharmaceutical company, finally decided to let me invest some of the family capital in this space. So I also wear another hat where I invest family money in the life sciences space, primarily medtech, through an entity called Health Family Capital.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joe Canino, part of our own family small investing group. We have an interest in life sciences for two main reasons. One, we are interested in the wealth creation aspect, and two, we're interested in the social impact side of things. So we're always listening for interesting ideas.
Hi everyone, Chris Yu here. Chuck asked to talk about why I'm here, and the reason I'm here is my dad said I should come. No, that's on a serious note. From a personal perspective, very interested in healthcare. I'm a fifth generation healthcare family business entity, and we have a traditional Chinese medicine company called Yuan Sang, based in Singapore. So when Chuck was in Singapore in March, I wasn't there, but I very much speak for that generation of people who are sort of the next gen and interested in the next step forward and how do we modernize the business. Like a lot of you here, I'm sure, I wear multiple hats. I'm an analyst at a venture capital fund here in New York called Rethink Education. We're an impact investing fund that does do some investments in the healthcare education space as well. And I also, third hat, is I'm an analyst at a family office based in White Plains, New York. The Siegel family office. Rick Siegel is the principal, and he's very interested in healthcare, and so I help him out with some deals there as well. Happy to be here.
And Chris, really excited to have you with us, and your dad has just been fabulous in the Singapore office, and we're just really expanding. We do these meetings quarterly now, and we just have a lot of enthusiasm, and your people at your group at that age group in Singapore is just fabulous to work with.
Yeah, great.
So it's good.
Hi there, I'm Eric Golding. I work for Euclidean Capital, which is a single family office. I focus just on the healthcare piece. I'm actually a physician by training, trained in internal medicine, and I've been working in healthcare investing since, both on the private side, on the venture capital front, as well as on the public side. Now focus both on kind of direct investing in healthcare companies as well as healthcare funds.
Jessica Hubachek, I work for Life Science Nation. We put on the Rosie Conference, bringing investors and fundraising CEOs and scientists together.
Hi, I'm Maria Mäkelä. I'm working with Chuck at the Stetson family office, and happy to see the names, behind it, exchanging emails. Happy to see you all here.
Could you, Maria, talk a little bit about the Women in Healthcare initiative that we've...
Yeah, we're talking about women in healthcare, so how to increase women as investors and especially family offices in healthcare area, and see more CEOs in that area. So that's one area. Happy to talk with you and get ideas what to do and how to increase more women in the healthcare area.
Bud Kirchner, the Kirchner Group are long-term advisors, long-time advisors to the Stetson family office and Chuck's private equity interest as well. We have a unique platform based on domain and process expertise related to small and medium enterprise. So years of overlap with what the Stetson family office and PPI have done.
Could you explain a little bit about your platform, domain, and process? Because I'm not sure everyone really gets it. It's pretty unique, isn't it?
I think so. I hope so. I was waiting. I thought you were going to explain it. I know you were to take notes. Yeah, just very simple. This all started, we're now 35 years in existence, and the original premise was that so many small and medium enterprises seem to make their bets on either domain, scientific, technology, etc., or process, operators, restructuring people, whatever that may be. And our thesis is that it's only when you have a combination of those two skill sets together in the right combination that you get the kind of success that's needed in an efficient manner, because a big part of our orientation is capital efficiency. We're always very concerned that just throwing more money at a situation is not the answer.
Jane, please start your table.
Sure. Hi, Jane Hollingsworth, guest of Chuck, so thank you for the invitation today. I am founding managing partner of Militia Hill Ventures, which is based in Philadelphia in University City. What we do is put teams, capital, and assets together to solve some of the intractable problems in healthcare. My background is in building and running biotech companies, although I'm a lawyer, I have to say, by training. I did that for a while. But I wanted to really, after working through a couple of companies through the venture-backed system, IPO, and selling those, to do this more at scale. And now we're trying to raise a fund. We have a small portfolio that we've built, 2 cancer companies, 1 in cystic fibrosis. And we're now working on a couple of new projects, companies, 1 in oncology also with a large multi-billion-dollar family office on the West Coast that has an interest in the space. And so what we're trying to do, which is why Chuck and I were talking and really, I think, connected, which is trying to put all these pieces together more effectively and thereby solve problems faster and really create good therapeutics.
Pierre DuPont, I have to thank you, Chris, for being direct about one of the reasons you were here. I'm here for unknown reasons. I have nothing to do with the biomedical world, to be honest. I do spend a fair bit of time mentoring and investing occasionally in early stage companies, some of which have included healthcare IT. And curiously enough, a long time ago in an earlier life, I helped start and grow a company which became the Nike Plus joggers device. We actually started that as a company intending to help provide motivation to those coming out of cardiac surgery or with severe diabetes issues and so on. Failed miserably, which is one reason why I don't go into healthcare medical space anymore. So I ended up selling it to Nike for $1 million, and they sold 65 million of them. So that tells you what a great businessman I am. Glad to be here.
Here, I'm hoping that this is the type of thing that we're trying to do. We're trying to connect with, we have 2 different angel groups that I'm sure.
I do connect a lot. Unfortunately or fortunately in life, I love to do that. And we have just formed a new angel group, really some other guys, but I'm helping a lot, called Princeton Alumni Angels. So any of you know a Princetonian who's looking to build a business or wants to be investing in the angel world, send them my way.
Perfect, thank you. Next.
Thank you for inviting us here. Bill actually shared the invitation, so it's my first time to actually meet some of you guys here. I work for GCF. It's a single family office based here in New York. We're actually industry agnostic. 25 or 30% of our portfolio is in biotech and life science and med device. We like public equities. We do have scientists and PhDs and advisors who help us on a deal-by-deal basis. We also have a discretionary fund for private equity funds focused in biotech or cannabis or even in mining. I'm here to meet other funds and other families and learn from what you guys are trying to do.
Good afternoon. My name is Ron Kalivoda. I'm the founder and president of the Palo Group. Chuck, last year we were on a panel together and you mentioned that you had this notion of this thing, so it's good to see a year later the significant progress that you made. I wish you well moving forward, and I look forward to getting updates about additional areas that you want to conquer. The Palo Group started in '95. At that point, I was a lab ed scientist, had an idea, and it kind of took off and kind of sold. And that's how we started the Palo Group. So we've been around for 20 plus years. Presently, we have a ventures arm, private equity arm, and real estate arm. We have 3 funds focusing on digital media, clean technology, and of course life sciences. So life sciences is the closest thing to my heart because as a lab-based scientist, I like to see the progress that people make in the field. Basically what at this point we're looking at is we're really excited about the data analytics component, looking at genotype diagnostics, digital biomarkers, a lot of wearable stuff. So, like I said, we have a lot of interest in the field, and in addition to capital, we love to put some of our expertise to work with our portfolio companies as well. So, again, good to see you.
I'm Jerry Bratkovich. I'm a managing director with ZRG Partners. We're a global executive search firm with our biggest vertical being life sciences and healthcare. I'm actually part of the private equity and VC practice, which is a horizontal practice, but my focus is on healthcare, life sciences, and technology. In addition to finding key talent for our clients, we also package executives with good investment thesis and bring those to our investment partners so we contribute to deal flow in that manner. And then separately but related, on a personal basis, I serve as an advisor, retained advisor to right now 3 healthcare and life sciences companies, helping them with 3 things: cash, partners, and the extension of their business out through customers.
Bill Todd from Landmark Angels and Family Office. We are a 300-member investor group. 100 of those are family office members. It's an investment alliance we formed to try to get the best investments, and we do social impact investing, doing good at the same time, which is, you'll hear that term today for those of you who haven't. It's a pretty significant term. Started venture philanthropy years ago. As we do in this space, in the life science space, we do 14 forums a year, but in this space we do 2 big ones. Big in the sense of significant, not big in the sense of numbers. One of which is called Investing for Cures, which is our life science focused, major speakers, etc. We're trying to get the best science and where that science is going to go, because the issue is this is a very, very tough investment space. We have MDs, PhDs, T-cell immunology, but it's a very tough space to follow. You can get lost very easily. Randy, wait, you get lost very easily in this space. And so you really got to get the best investment opportunities, which is what we try to do in drilling down into those investments. Well, I founded that 10 years ago. Our direction through cures is to find cures. So there are 2 areas kind of interest to us. One is aging as a disease, which is really coming in the forefront here. We've had experts speak to us about that. So why do we only live to a certain age, 83 or 4 on average? Why not to 120? It's a very, very interesting space where we're going in that space and what interferes with that. And the other point is trying to get some of these diseases through genes, the gene space. This is basically genomics, gene editing, gene mutations. They get some of these diseases early on before they get to a disease state. Pharma is actually moving toward that very slowly, but you'll see more in that space of prevention early on. So anyway, that's what we do.
One of the things that Ken Cooper found is that, and he will tell you, keep people alive 10 years longer. How do you keep people alive 10 years longer? And he's now got a problem because the average male dies at age 77. And he can keep people longer, so it's 87. Problem is, he's 87. Where do you go from there? But seriously, and we have up on our website it's Global Better Health. We're doing a series with Our American Stories, which has a market reach of several million Americans. And we're just putting it up now on preventive medicine and how you can save money. And then we're going through 5 chronic diseases. Alzheimer, 1/3 to a half is avoidable. How do you do it? And he has, at the Cooper Clinic, he sits every person down, 40 years or older, and says, these are the 8 steps you got to do. It has levels for vitamin B12, omega-3, and vitamin B, and among other things. sleep, which is one of the things I didn't know, is that if you do not sleep for 7 hours a night, if you wake up, as you get older, you tend not to sleep through the night. Well, it turns out that the amyloid plaque doesn't clear as well if you're interrupted. You need 7 hours of sleep so the amyloid plaque clears, and if it doesn't clear, you're going to get Alzheimer's a lot quicker. So begin to understand a lot of things from the physical exercise. If you have the oxygenation and you need to get up to 150 heartbeats or so a minute, so your VO2 goes around and you collect debris as you get older in your body, and if you can get the oxygenation up, the oxygenation takes it to your lungs and you expel it. So there's really cool stuff that's going on. And so the 5 areas of chronic diseases that we're going after is Alzheimer's, cancer. 1/3 to 1/2 is preventable, according to MD Anderson. They're the expert. They have the Lyda Hill Cancer Prevention Center, and we work with them. Diabetes, there's a lot that can be done there. Obesity and heart disease. And so, you know, you don't have, I don't know how we get quite people up to 120, but there's some really cool stuff going on and really looking at it. But there's stuff we can do today. And you know, as I talk to family offices, they're very focused on the next generation. And you know, this is the type of thing that they really care about in the meetings that we go. So you spurred a little riff here.
No, man, there's
in terms of my riffing a little bit.
Two follow-ups on that point, Chuck, which are important. Sleep, because your body is repairing itself during the day. You know, make up for all the activity you have during the day. The body actually is repairing itself at night and needs that state of rest to be able to do it. Secondly, in terms of what you can do, because this is one of the experts pointed out to us, there are certain things you can take. If you do happen to have diabetes and take metformin, metformin is an antioxidant, which is really interesting. Resveratrol, that's the ingredient in the grape, which you can get to an ingredient. Curcumin, turmeric, these are the Indian spice. All those things are really good in terms of, you know, preventative type measures in addition to good nutrition and exercise.
Good. Next.
Sure. So my name is David Abraham. And again, thank you very much, Chuck, for inviting me. I'm here as a member of Sky Ventures. It's a life sciences angel group in Boston. And we actually have sort of an unusual makeup to a certain extent for angel groups in the sense that we have angels, we have family offices, we have microfunds, and we also have strategics. We all come together, evaluate opportunities in life sciences in a variety of different settings, and just excited to be here and listen to everybody else. So thank you.
Moss, can you lead off this table?
Okay.
And tell us a little bit about what you're doing, information, that's cool.
Well, thanks, and thank you, everyone. I'm a trustee of the Healthcare Impact Foundation, as Chuck started, and also a founder and CEO of a biotech company in later stage in clinical development, clinical trials, and developing a novel class of oral anti-inflammatories. And Kevin and Bill and other friends in the room here, it was a great setup because what's happened in the last decade or so is the understanding that the root cause of all the diseases you just put forth is in part mediated by inflammation. The root cause of inflammation has its derivatives in nature, curcumin, resveratrol, sulfolaphanes, all those that are what they call the natural plant inhibitors to interleukin-1, this root cause of inflammation, upstream of TNF-alpha. And what this medical breakthrough is at Olitech, our company, is its ability to inhibit with an oral, safe, extremely cost-effective treatment for all these diseases. And the growing evidence, not only in the literature, it is now being proven by us in clinical trials and in some preclinical studies. What makes it different, and which I believe Chuck relates to, is the company by design has been founded and funded only by families and family offices. And the direct owners of the capital who have contributed, all of us, $54 million over the last 10 years to produce this lead compound in clinical trials, 60 analogs, over 100 patents and growing, and multiple indications and multiple products. So Chuck and I resonated greatly when understanding that the family offices to date have been usually participants at the Angels stage and not, as in our case, in the evolution of a biotech company, as it's de-risked, continue to only have family offices and families. So thank you.
To your right.
Hi, I'm Sophia Skoras. I actually work with Damaris at Olatech. I work in investor relations and communications, and I don't think I could really say anything better than Damaris already has. So.
My name is Ira Perlmutter, and thank you, Chuck, for inviting me. This is my first meeting here. I work for the family that owns the Mall of America. I had their direct private equity investing. My interest really came from my own work in trying to help people. I have a Rolodex of doctors to try and help people, and from that, you started to see that there's many opportunities to advance science to help people, whether it's fighting cancer or diabetes and things like that. And there are many things that are right at our fingertips that are just not well known, but well researched, and there's just, I think, not money in them for people to make. So they haven't been able to figure out how to advance them in society, but yet they're proven to actually be efficacious.
Well, one of the things that, can you talk a little bit more about some of the, you're kind of, you like to do the turnaround.
Yes.
And one of the things that we want to do is we want to have kind of a very broad group doing a lot of different things, and that's your expertise. So if we can get people that have different expertise coming together that represent families, they might not all be early stage life science, but if to some extent when you do a turnaround, it's a brand new deal.
Sure.
But can you talk a little bit about that, Art?
Sure. And I come out of the turnaround and restructuring world, as Chuck said. I bought 11 companies in a bank for the family, most of them in financial distress or bankruptcy. And we've been able to effectively turn them around by focusing on building and creating value in those companies and helping people. So for example, we had a garbage truck manufacturing company, pretty dull, but we partnered with BYD to make a fully electric garbage truck. It gets 100 miles on a 2.5-hour charge, no pollution, totally clean. Getting it to be adopted by cities is a whole other story, but when we look for opportunities like that. But just in the science thing, drinking a few teaspoonfuls of apple cider vinegar with mother are efficacious in lowering blood glucose levels by about 20%, just by drinking it during a meal, 2 teaspoonfuls. So I mean, there's so many things out there that address many of these issues, but you can't really make money at it, so it's just has not been publicized well enough in society, and so that's of interest to me, to work with people who are trying to do good and help improve our health and help make the world a better place.
Hi, Chuck. Thanks for inviting me. My name is Adam Fine. I'm the founder and managing partner of a healthcare-focused venture capital firm here in New York called Wyndham Venture Partners. We're currently investing out of our second fund. Fund 1 is doing quite well. We'll be launching Fund 3 in the next few weeks. We're focused mainly on devices, diagnostics, and healthcare IT. And what we see more than ever is that all these verticals, because of emerging technologies and a few really important trends happening in the marketplace around reimbursement, all these fields are starting to converge and overlap. Primarily with consumer-facing products or apps or technologies and data and access to information and knowledge on the web and via mobile devices. So, we're focused on big unmet needs, really good, seasoned, high-integrity management teams. We're very focused on science and data, and we love helping companies make progress and commercialize very disruptive products and technologies to address significant unmet needs.
Could you talk a little bit about, one of your partners is your dad?
Right.
Which is pretty interesting, because so it's really a family office thing, but does he have any expertise in life science? Can you talk a little bit about what he does?
And my father is one of my two co-founding partners. He's not, active, day to day, 24/7, but he remains a wise advisor. He was at J&J for 30 some odd years. Half of those years he was a member of the 7 or 8 person Worldwide Executive Committee. He's now chairman of the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, which is either the second or the third largest foundation in the country, and I think the largest foundation focused on healthcare in the country. So he has got a wealth of experience and sage advice and good business judgment, which is really what's most important when you're deploying other people's capital in early stage companies and helping to cultivate these companies and enable them to grow and make progress.
We really need to bring some of the resources, like the phenomenal resources. We have a lot of people with phenomenal resources here. We need to kind of be starting to work together a little bit more. So, Adam, it's been great.
Just before you go on, I would just like to say that I had the good fortune of working for Roger and with Roger for many years at Johnson & Johnson. So I had a lot of experience with your dad. Please send him our regards.
I will. Thank you.
Next.
Hi, I'm Marissa Fayer, and I'm also a partner at Lex Partners, as Toby alluded to, a direct investment platform. I solely focus on women's health, on healthcare. I've also niched down into women's health. I think that once you help a woman, she supports her entire family, community, and the world, especially in developing countries and in some frontier markets such as Southeast Asia and in Africa and Latin America. I come out of the healthcare space. So I have 18 years of experience in the operations and manufacturing side of things. I'm also the founder and CEO of a global nonprofit focused on women's health. And so it's kind of merging all of these things together. Probably next year we will be starting as you said over there, a venture philanthropy fund. So that's very much in the future. And my thoughts on healthcare and life science is that it's one of the few things that keeps us all connected, and it also helps us have more productive and impactful lives. So without our health, we can't have any of those. And it's personal for each person. For me, it's women's health. Unfortunately, that can change. God forbid a parent has Alzheimer's, and I have to focus on that. So everyone should just kind of, pick and choose what is personal to them, and take a stand for that.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, I think it is afternoon. My name is Jennifer Bland, and I'm the CEO at New York Bio. I joined New York Bio in late April from Merck, where I was for about 9.5 years. I'm a lawyer by training, yes, we have a few in the room. And I have come in at a time where the ecosystem in New York is exploding. With early stage companies, we are starting to see more capital flowing into early stage investing here, particularly in the city. And we finally have real estate for early stage startup companies. We have about 9 or 10 incubators that are either have come online or are coming online, and it is creating great growth potential for new companies. Because what I'm hearing is that these serial entrepreneurs or individuals, PhDs who would like to be serial entrepreneurs, really would like to stay in New York. Or in certainly the surrounding area. And so our next challenge will be step up space, and if these small companies need to manufacture, where do they go if they can't stay in the city, but they want to stay close to the infrastructure that we have here with the research institutions, the medical centers, and the talent that those provide. So I'm looking forward to working with family offices and certainly with Chuck as we consider ways that a trade association like New York Bio can partner with other entities, including family offices, research foundations, patient advocacy groups. My members
are everything from a small two-person startup that may be in a, say, an Alexandria Launch Labs, to Pfizer, J&J, Merck. So I span the gamut, so that means that a lot of potential for collaboration and working together and fostering these ideas that come out of discussions just like the ones we're having today. So I look forward to working with you all.
Hello everyone, my name is Lena Konstantinovich and I've spent the last 12 years in innovation and impact investing. I've launched 5 companies. One of them was the first biomimetic technology incubator that got an award from NASA for Best Solution for Planetary Sustainability. More recently, one of the other organizations I launched, Innovation 4.4, is a partner in the Vascular Tissue Challenge, which is one of the centennial challenges that NASA launched in 2015 to solve the organ availability challenge. I also, speaking of next-gen inheritors, have been a part of Nexus Global, which is a community of over 4,500 next-gen inheritors, and founded the Impact Investing Working Group there 4.5 years ago. Last week I was at an exposomics conference at Mount Sinai. I've been really interested this year in the impact of endocrine disruptors and toxic chemicals in general on human health. And I'm actually hosting an event next month at the Explorers Club that's framed from a risk investment perspective, so investing in companies that have toxic chemicals in the supply chain as risk exposure. So I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for inviting me, and look forward to speaking with many of you.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment on Nexus, which is kind of the next generation. I went to another conference where they had next generation. I don't know how many people are aware of it. The next generation is pretty upset. They're mad, right? Right? And so I was on campus in April, and I had 3 classes, and here's the way I started off. My generation screwed you guys. In that conversation, do you think there was anyone in that room of college kids that was looking at their cell phone? There weren't. Because I walked them through it, and I said, look, I can't do anything about pensions. I know it has to get done, but I can't do that. What I can do is something about healthcare. And we have to get that under control, because that's one of the things that screwed you guys. And I walk them through how it screwed them at the University of Michigan, for example. What are the things that a state can't cut? They can't cut pensions, they can't cut healthcare. What can they cut? They can cut education. And they did. In the state of Michigan, they cut it 45%. That means when this father graduated from the University of Michigan in the mid-'80s, he had no debt, 0 debt. But because of the cuts at the state level and the corresponding increase coming up at the tuition, guess what? The son graduated with $63,000 worth of debt. Well, that's good. He should meet a woman that has $63,000 of debt, and then they're at $126,000 of debt. We screwed them, and we've got to get out in front of it. So what I'm trying to do a little bit when I speak with the next gen is, let's have a conversation. Okay, we did it. Let's not wallow in that. Let's try to figure out what has to be done. And we need to get in front of this. And I think that to some extent with the next generation, we're in the 1960s where, it's Connie Francis and Frank Sinatra and all that. Connie Francis and Frank Sinatra went out fairly quickly as soon as the Beatles and all the other stuff. We end up with Sgt. Pepper's stuff, fairly quickly. I mean, and we ended up with all of the protests and all of that. I don't think we're that far away from all of that right now. When I was with this group at this conference of young people in their 20s, they were upset. And they just couldn't totally position why they were upset. And so when I was talking to the university students, I was walking them through what I think is part of the problem. And we need to be on this thing. We need to be working with the next generation. We need to get in front of this situation. You cannot lead from being behind. I vote.
Hi, I'm Ivy Kaufman. I work with the Stetson Family Office now on the Healthy Brain Initiative, mostly on helping to build the family office, family foundation, and social impact investment collaborative that we hope will emerge shortly from this venture. So I'm happy to be here, and I know some of you in the room, but I don't know most of you in the room. So I'm delighted to see the potential for growth here.
Tom.
My name is Tom Off. I'm a former lawyer as well, former private equity investor, and most recently over the last 10 years I've been running a group called Advanced Venture Partners, which is a healthcare incubator. We've started 5 companies in and around healthcare services and devices, focused primarily on cancer care, laboratory diagnostics, and dermatology. I also am a former Olympic oarsman, and I have a real interest in healthcare, not just from the standpoint of longevity, which obviously is very important, but also from the standpoint of living stronger, healthier, and trying to improve athletic performance. And that's why I'm interested, Pierre, in your story about the the Fitbit type watches. Thank you, Chuck, for having me.
I'm Victoria Pettibone. I'm Managing Director of Astia, which is an organization that works to support women entrepreneurs by providing them access to capital and expertise. We run Astia Angels, which is a network, an angel group network. We have about 60 members, about half men, half women, but all of the companies we invest in have at least one woman in a position of leadership holding equity. I already said that, and significant influence. So some of our members are family offices who participate in our angel group, but we also co-invest with family offices. We're always interested in that. We do find that one of the biggest risks that these companies face is that funding risk that comes in finding a Series A lead, even a Series B lead. So always happy to make more connections with potential syndicate partners. I'm also excited to say that we just secured an $10 million anchor LP for a fund so that we can also start to provide that level of support for the companies as they grow and have the larger funding needs. So happy to be here.
Jim Riley, I'm the managing partner of, excuse me, I think it says White Hat Partners. I also work with Chuck, and I help Chuck with his nonprofit activities, and got wind of what he was doing on this front. It's always been an interest of mine. I've helped many early stage companies get funded. I started my own early stage company, Knowledge Delivery Systems, which we sold. And so I'm here as a newbie and learning a lot. And look forward to meeting you.
Kevin McGovern, McGovern Capital. It's a family office. We had it. I'm going on a board in the company in Europe, so I had to add them all up. We founded over 31 companies, some in healthcare, beverages, skincare, etc. We brought AHAs to the world. We've done business in over 80 countries. And so we have a vital interest in healthcare, working with Chuck. We particularly have a passion for clean water. We make the finest filters in the world. We originally made the filters for Brita and Pure. We made the Pure filter and we made the end-of-tap filter for Brita, and then we made the first refrigerator filter. And now we're creating filters. Elon Musk had purchased some filters in Flint. Those were our filters. But we make the finest filters in the world. We take out viruses at a home level. That's the business side, and we're very interested in working with healthcare. We're also developing some wellness for Indian tribes. We'll talk about that some other time, but we like to do things that are very edgy. We're in medical cannabis. I'm chairman of a company in Israel. I'm also on the board of companies in Canada and the US. We have probably 8 investments in medical cannabis, drug development. Gus, how you doing? But on the academic side, I teach at both Cornell and Stanford. I'm on the innovation board of both universities. I'll be on the engineering board of Stanford, I think at 2 o'clock today. I've been invited to do that. And there's a McGovern Life Sciences Center at Cornell, which was rated one of the top 10 in North America, so we're very proud of that. It's done a lot of great work, and we've raised a lot of capital. It's created a whole spawn of incubators at Cornell. And I was the first professor at Cornell Tech, and I urge Bioformer to work with Cornell Tech. We had 29 startups our first year, and with 60% of our graduates this year are working in New York. So we're doing exceedingly well, and we're very happy working with anybody. And Dan Huntlocker is near and dear, so if there's anything I could do to help any on that level.
Colin?
Yeah, Colin Whedon, Boston Innovation Capital, and I work with Life Science Nation and been on the board with Chuck on a number of different panels talking about family offices and how they participate in the life sciences business, the challenges that family offices face. My background is I've worked and consulted with family offices probably for, 12 or 15 years, which I guess makes me a dinosaur, I guess, in this business. The family office business has changed so dramatically in that period of time, both in terms of scale, numbers, acumen, and dimension in terms of investments. So I think what I do now is help life science and guide life sciences companies to access a lot of the family office market, both in the United States and abroad.
Hi, I'm Dennis Ford, and I'm the founder of Life Science Nation and the creator of the Resi Conference. So I don't know if you guys have been downstairs on the 3rd floor and through a couple of rooms, but you're welcome to go there. There's 300 early stage investors with about 500 million in capital that are looking for what I call the earliest, which is grants, angel, and seed companies. So we have, I think, about 20 startup companies from New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania area in one part of the facility. And then we have about 60 tables that we will hook up investors that are looking for a specific investment mandate with a company that's a particular stage of development and a particular product. And we have an expert system that we put together, so when you meet an investor and you're a fundraising CEO, you're a scientist entrepreneur, you're actually meeting somebody that's a fit. And so if you get a chance to go down to the 3rd floor and to the back hall, you'll see a gigantic room with a lot of people doing a lot of business, about 500 million in capital in there. We've had about 375 companies that we've helped fund to the tune of over 500 million. And I just got back recently from Taiwan, where we did a thing with 90 PhDs for a day, trying to tell them about how you get into the global investor partnering space. And then the next day we had 11 of them give us a presentation, and then the next day we did another 11, and we were critiquing their pitch decks. And it was amazing that the technology that's hanging out in Taiwan in terms of micro machinery and custom silicon chip design for the next generation of monitoring, because I have a saying with the 4Ds, drugs, devices, diagnostics, and digital health, they're all kind of blending. And you know, when you take your phone, the cloud, and some kind of implantable device that's got a payload of drugs in it, you're going to see this whole new generation. And I was really amazed that, you know, Taiwan, who a bunch of those folks came back with me, and they will be at our JP Morgan event. But there's just a lot of things going on in the world. So what we did with Life Science Nation and with the Resi Conference is we wanted to create an ecosystem where we could take partners like Chuck, who has his family office network, and we can take the incubators, and we can take the 10 categories of investors that we have, which is private equity and venture capital and corporate pharma and endowments and foundations and all the like, and put them together. So we're going to have a Resi in Asia, we're going to have a Resi in Europe, one in Boston and one in JP Morgan. We have the ability to get the earliest stage and the early guys funded by coalescing the investor and partnering community. So we're downstairs on the 3rd floor. Please take the time to go through and check us out. I think you'll be pretty impressed.
Good afternoon. I'm Kathleen Coviello. I'm with the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, focusing on all of our technology and life science investments in the state. Been in this position for 13 years, coming out of venture banking, so did it in the private sector and now in the public sector. Very passionate about growing the life science sector in the state of New Jersey. I think we're really at a unique tipping point in the state. We have a lot of the building blocks and a governor at the helm who's very, very passionate and interested about this space. So many know the history of New Jersey as the medicine chest or medicine capital of the world, and that changed a bit when pharma reconfigured in the state, leaving opportunities in real estate. And we do a lot of work at the EDA in the investment side in incentivizing behavior. And so a lot of that is around infrastructure and attracting entrepreneurs to clusters in the state. A lot of it is through investing in funds, incentivizing angel investors, family offices. We're seeing a great deal of deal flow through our investor tax credit program. That most of it is coming through family offices and club transactions through family offices. It's really starting to take a more formalized approach than anything we've seen in the past. And we have a unique tool to help companies sell their losses in the state. So you bring all that together, and we hope we get more stories like Celgene, who started in New Jersey, and we think about not only the life-saving impact that a company like Celgene has had, the number of spin-outs they've had. I think many of you probably read about Cellularity that just spun out and raised $250 million, that Celgene owns 20% in, and the impact that has to job creation in the state as well, which I think is why you see the governor so interested. And, interesting to hear the Princeton connection, because for the first time we're starting to see the universities work in a new and interesting way in New Jersey, particularly between Princeton and Rutgers, too. So, pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So thank you, Chuck, for the opportunity to be here, and Dennis, congratulations on just a terrific conference. It's really been wonderful. It's nice to meet all of you. Not the reason I was invited, but just very quickly, I've done some direct angel investments and angel investment in a fund. Just earlier this year, I did my first venture into a venture investment at the New Jersey Tech Council Venture Fund, so I'm really excited to be in that and here for that reason personally. So why I'm really here is representing the BioNJ. I'm the president and CEO of BioNJ, the trade association. So Jen's counterpart, Jen's my friend from New York, and I'm here from New Jersey.
Why are you competing?
You
cooperate. What's going on here?
If our governors were here, they would say, come on, it's competition. At the end of the day, our companies don't really care. And of course, there are some times when, but we'd rather keep them here in this universe than send them to elsewhere. As Kathleen said, there's a lot of cool things going on in New Jersey. We're similar in that we have everything from, as we say, a man or a woman and a molecule to up to the Mercks and the Pfizers and the BMSs who are members of BioNJ. And at the end of the day, we want to make sure that New Jersey is a robust life sciences ecosystem where our companies we help our companies help patients, because patients can't wait. That's what drives us every day, and we're happy to be having this conversation with all of you, and I'm happy to help you in any way that we can. Thank you again, Chuck.
So I guess I'm the last.
Save the best.
Well, let's hope that's true. Ron McGann, I'm the vice chairman of the private bank at JP Morgan. We're a small little bank across the street over there. This is my first time attending. I've known Chuck for several years, and your theory is in fact correct. I've already met two people, and I'm going to meet with Bud a little bit after this. And so in the private bank, we interact with family offices all over the world. And for me, it was amazing just to sit here to listen to all these interesting stories about all the things that you all are involved in. And if we can be of any help, I'd love to get to know as many people as possible. I'm a big believer in that this is a marathon and not a sprint, and I've been working with the firm for 30 years. And I always enjoy meeting new people and finding ways that we can bring people together, because in a lot of ways, that's what our organization does in a very, very large way all over the world.
Well, I want to thank everyone, and particularly I'm very pleased to be partnered with Life Science Nation. I'm very pleased to be working with the JP Morgan Bank. They're just fabulous to work with, and they've got a lot of expertise, so I commend that to you. And I hope that you've been interested and found at least someone that shares the interest that you have. And this is the type of thing where there's no solicitation or anything like that. This is just a chance to meet some other people. And I hope that you'll get out your business card. If you find someone that you'd like to know more about, you'll trade business cards. And we did that actually, I think, after the last meeting. Richard, you traded cards with, I think it was Bruce, and then you got together and you found out you had all these friends in common, but the two of you didn't know each other. So, that's one of the things that we hope that we can remedy
is just to get people to understand what's going on with each other. If you've seen someone that you like or you're interested in, please go up to them. We've got, kind of about a half hour or so before we have to move on, but just enjoy the rest of your meal and enjoy the people at your table, and find out if there's anyone you'd like to talk to, trade some cards.
Thank you.